Weekly planning. How do you do it? And what is the best way to do it? Well, that's what we're going to explore in this week's video, because I get asked about the way I do my weekly planning every week. And I thought, okay, I'm going to take you through it step by step so you can follow along if you wish, or at least you can get some ideas about how to do the best weekly planning. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, first up, you are going to need one of these, which is an A4 ring-bound notebook. Now, it doesn't really matter what notebooks you get. I've got the Rhodia A4 ring-bound notebook. Comes with this little, or mine came with this little extra thing, but it doesn't really matter. But I prefer the lined. Lined you may find more useful, but if you prefer dot grid or just blank paper, doesn't really matter. But the critical thing is that it's A4, because you want the size. You want to have that, be able to expand your thinking. Next up, you're going to need a ruler, a pencil. I have a mechanical pencil here, and of course you're going to need a pen. Now, I should point out, by the way, that this week's pen is, or the main pen is, a Montblanc 149 that actually my wife has recently bought me for my birthday and to celebrate the launch of my book, Your Time, Your Way. This has been one of, for those of you in the know, this has been one of my grail pens for about 20 years, and now I have a matching pen with my mechanical pencil that my wife bought me 17 years ago. Anyway, that's the aside. Okay, so we've done that bit. Now, once we've done that, the next thing is to get yourself a blank page in your planning book. Oops, there was one other vital ingredient that I missed. You need a nice cup of tea or coffee. In here, I have my morning cup of coffee. Perfect. Okay, so as I mentioned, what we need is a blank piece of paper. We have a blank piece of paper here. And what I want you to do is to draw out a square grid on the pen and paper. Hence the reason why we needed the ruler and pencil. Now, in the top left-hand corner, you write core work. Now, this is for the critical work that you just have to do every single week. It is what your job is. Now, for me, that's going to be writing my blog post, doing this video, doing my podcast, and the 2 newsletters that I write. So those things I'm just automatically going to write down immediately because I do that every week. Now, this is actually a critical point because I really want, what we're looking here is to really embed that critical work. And also, to be fair, some weeks you may not need to do some of those activities, but for the most part, you are probably going to do. So just get that written down in the top left-hand corner, because it's a great way to get started because it's your core work. You shouldn't really need to actually think about it. Now, over on the top right, we have what's called projects and issues. Now, these are for the projects that you want to or need to work on next week, plus any issues that need resolving, and you just want to get them in there because we're going to go digital eventually, but this is really about getting your mind to open up with all the things that are you just are kind of swimming around in your head, and we want to get that out of your head onto paper so that you can really then decide when and how you're going to do this work. Okay, now hopefully you're running along with me here, because now in the bottom left-hand corner, we do personal, anything that's coming up in your personal area. So right now I'm in the process of increasing the intensity of my exercise. And so that's usually going to be the first thing I write down. Plus anything else that just comes to mind. My car needs washing, for example. So that needs to get put in there as well. And then in the bottom right, we have this special thing. One of my favorite things in what I call the weekly planning matrix, which is the radar area. Now, the radar is for the things that you don't necessarily have to do anything with that week, but you want to be aware of it. So it's in your mind and you're kind of planning or thinking, this is one of those great ways of getting that unconscious mind to do its superpower computer thing, which is to come up with solutions and ideas and just be creative. And so I like to put that there because it's like a little constant reminder that these are the things I want to be thinking about. So right now in there's only going to be, I need to be aware of the Seoul trip that's coming up because my little dog Louis is having his annual medical checkup, and maybe there's just a few other things, deliveries that I'm expecting. So there's not much for me to think about at the moment. Most of the things have already been turned into projects. So this is where I'm going to write those down, and also I tend to put my deliveries, what I'm expecting next week. And that's really about it. Now I do, because I just mentioned, my wife has just recently bought me a Mont Blanc 149. So I'm also thinking about what ink I want to put in there. So right now I've got a greeny black ink, which I'm not entirely happy with. So later today I'll have a play with that and see what ink I want to put in there more permanently. And that's really about it. That's where we start. Now, in total, that will take you about 10 to 15 minutes. But I would just go slow with this. Just let your mind wander. Just get everything out that's swimming around in there so that you are just getting a nice idea of what needs to be done next week on paper. Now, I have tried this digitally and it just doesn't work the same way. My mind doesn't seem to open up as much on digital world. I do have a grid in my notes app. I have found that doing this on paper just gets the floodgates open and gets everything written down onto the sheet of paper. And then comes the second part. Now, the second part is about taking what you wrote down on your paper, so taking what I've got written down here and moving it into the digital world, because ultimately my task manager is running from my computer or my phone. My calendar is running from my computer, so I can see, and my phone, so I can see my appointments, I can see where my time blocks are for doing this critical work. So I need to be able to make sure now that everything that I've written on here is in my system, it's on my calendar. If I need the time to do the writing or the recording, I need to get that on my calendar. I also need to get these tasks or whatever's in here into my task manager. So this is going to take you another, say, 15, 20 minutes. Now, if you've been following my system for a while, so you understand COD, collect, organize, and do, and indeed you're using the time sector system, then you're already going to have most of your core work in there. It's already going to be repeating. You're also going to have your routines in there. So that's going to be repeating on the days. Most of the stuff that's coming at you on a daily basis is now going to be sort of like fixed. It's a fixture in your week. So you already know that you've got time to do most of this critical work. What we're doing here is just getting everything out of your head, relaxing you so that you know everything's on paper, and then you can move it into a much better place, the digital place, because that's where we're going to be quickly looking on our phone during the week, we're looking on our laptop or maybe our iPad or whatever. And so that's really now the stage where we transfer what you collected on here and move it into the digital world. And as I say, it probably takes about 10-15 minutes to do this. It's also a good idea at this point to look at your calendar and your task manager next to one another so you can see, okay, I haven't overscheduled my week. Everything is looking realistic, and more critically, I've got enough blank space in my calendar to deal with any emergencies that may come up. Because let's be honest, emergencies, urgencies, unexpected things, they're all going to happen in the week. The only problem we have when we do the weekly planning, we don't know what they're going to be. So the only thing you can do is make sure you've got enough blank space in your calendar to ensure that you can get to deal with those when they come up. So that's just a quick run through of how I do my weekly planning. I hope that's helped you because I get a lot of people asking me about this. Now, I have also done another video recently on doing this this weekly planning matrix on paper, which you can have a look at right here, that may help you to give you some further ideas on how to get the best out of your weekly planning.